I'm infatuated with change, the illusion of the escape, and the art of leaving behind. But bad habits keep up with time, and everything falls back in place. So I finally got on a plane, threw a towel over your name, and put all my trust into time. Then I started rubbing my eyes and realized that I'm still the same. 'Cause everyone wants to be saved, but nobody wants to be changed. And we walk away from so much, trying to avoid getting stuck, but we can't help it. Maybe we want this, yeah. And on paper everything's fine, it's the greatest part of your life, and there ain't no time for regret. Then it rains and you get all wet. These things just happen sometimes. Now you're trying not to be mad. It takes all the strength that you have and reminds you of something strange, that you left somebody in pain, and they know you're not coming back. 'Cause everyone wants to be saved, but nobody wants to be changed. And we walk away from so much, trying to avoid getting stuck, but we can't help it. Maybe we want this, yeah. Cause everyone wants to be saved, but nobody wants to be changed. We walk away from so much, trying to avoid getting stuck, but we can't help it. And maybe we want this. Oh.
Hi, I am Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, we have so many different transitions in our life, and I like to use the metaphor of triathlons, swim, bike, run, something I just did 5 days ago. Triathlons, okay, first you get in the water and you swim, and then you transition area, and then again you do something different and you're bicycling. And then you finish biking and you transition again, and then you're out there running. So it's a great metaphor. We have so many different things that we start out doing, we change, things happen, and I want to welcome who you just saw, Lynne Sharbaugh, who is our guest tonight, who is going to be telling about her amazing life. And just to kind of set this up, she moved here about 8 months ago to Nashville, and has such an amazing background: singer, songwriter, horse person, you name it. She's done it already in her 22 years. So, Lynne, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I find it fascinating that you just graduated from Berklee School of Music in Boston, right?
Yes, Boston.
And you graduated a year early. Instead of 4 years, you zapped through 3 years because you wanted to get going, and it was COVID, and there was a lot of. Tell us why you did that.
Well, so when COVID hit, I kind of thought of it as I had two choices. I could either just kind of sit around and go home and not really do much, or I could just power through and see what happens, see if I could get the next stage of my life going. And I told you, I've always kind of been very ambitious and driven. And so the time COVID hit, I was like, I'm bored. Let me get out of here and like see what I can go do in Nashville or another city. And I didn't really have that many credits left at that point, so it was easier for me to just power through and do some summer semesters and get it all out of the way, because I wasn't doing anything anyway, because everything was closed. So. Yeah.
So you just zapped through that. And you are so multi-talented. I know you from being my voice teacher. And the cool thing is, you know, late in life here I am taking rock and roll lessons. And learning the nuances of trying to do trills and drills and all kinds of things. And she patiently can give examples, and then bit by bit I've been learning a lot too. But she's really a true artist in her own right. And I want to kind of begin where you started in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Right. So I believe you were like 2 years old and you're already picking up tunes, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a little suburb outside of Philadelphia. It's called Haverford, Pennsylvania. And my parents weren't particularly musical themselves, but they always had music playing. My mom came from an Irish immigrant family, so she was always playing Irish fiddle, or Irish traditional tunes in general, not just fiddle, everything. And my dad was his favorite band was U2.
U2.
So I listened to a bit of everything, but the radio was always on. We were always listening to music together and singing. My mom would sing like parodies of popular songs on the radio. She would make up lyrics and sing her own version of them. So from a very young age, I was introduced to music, and we had a keyboard in my living room that I would just sit down and play around with. So that was my childhood from about. My mom likes to say that I was singing since I could make any noise at all. Like I was singing since I could talk at all. So
Wow.
From 2 to 9, I think I was just kind of, listening to music and playing around with that keyboard.
And then also you started a kind of elite Russian school. Tell us about that. What is that?
Yeah, so, I first started, like I told you, my family would go to Ireland during the summers to my family, my mom's family's home in Ireland. And so that's where I picked up my first instrument. That's where I picked up violin, and I learned some fiddle tunes by ear. So once I kind of took a liking to that, my mom got me in a school called Nellie Berman School of Music. It's in the same town I grew up in. And yeah, it was run by this Russian family that they were very prestigious in the world of classical music. And so it was me and a bunch of other, a lot of these kids were like crazy prodigies and practiced like 7-8 hours a day,
Wow.
classical piano and violin. There was a lot of violinists. And I picked up viola because I was, I always kind of gravitated to more singer-songwriter modern stuff. So they told me, we have too many violinists. We need violas. We need more violists in our chamber groups and orchestras. So when I was about 8 or 9, I started taking lessons there. I had the same viola teacher for 10 years.
Wow.
He trained me. I actually ended up auditioning for a couple colleges with viola, but ultimately I decided to go with singing and songwriting.
Wow. So there you are. You're doing this elite school viola, but also you're in school and you're playing in little bands and things like that.
Yeah. So I was a choir kid in school. I did a little bit of theater growing up as well. I was in a bunch of different orchestras. It was like head to head. Either I was songwriting or I was playing in orchestras and chamber groups and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's classical music.
For that, yeah. For viola, it was mostly classical music.
Okay. Yeah.
and fiddle as well when I had the chance, Irish fiddle. And then I had a few bands, like I told you I did Battle of the Bands in high school too.
Battle of the Bands.
I played with other kids in my high school, and we would put together bands and yeah, just play little gigs, open mics and stuff.
Yeah. And then how old were you when, and what inspired you to even go to college to do music? When did that inner spirit kind of came up and said, music, I want to do music for a living maybe?
That's a good question. I don't know if there was an exact moment that I just decided, but I think especially when I got to middle school and then entering high school, when I got serious about, like I told you, recording songs, like I would now go on GarageBand and record stuff. That's when I realized I was spending most of my time doing this, and I was kind of good at it too. So, or at least people told me I was. So I kind of just, you know, started spending more and more time to the point where I wasn't really doing much else. Everything else was kind of background. And so, yeah, I decided that I wanted to go to school for music. And at that point, I was doing a little bit of acting too. So I was realizing I wanted to be in the spotlight or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And also, as an aside, tell us about you and horses. Where did that come in your life as a kid?
So I'm what they call a horse girl. And
horse girl. Oh yeah.
So because I spent my summers in Ireland, it was a very rural town, and we had a little bit of land where my great uncle and my grandparents would raise cattle, and so I actually had a family friend who had a couple horses, and I convinced her to let me kind of lease the horse, like take care of the horse by myself for the summers. And she would give me the tack, and I would just tack the horse up and ride every day. And because the town was so rural, like a lot of people had horses, so I would be out all day jumping fences, just, you know, befriending people's horses.
Oh.
And that was my whole summer. So yeah, I would say that if it wasn't music, I'd be doing something with animals, specifically horses.
Wow. And as an aside thing, do you believe that there is a real spiritual connection with horses, that they kind of understand you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, horses are so intelligent, and they all have such different personalities. Yeah, and the one that well, it's really quick, funny story. When I was like 11, I told you I used to jump fences and go, you know, befriend people's horses. So I did that with a horse next door to me, and she was very wild. She was very young, very wild. And I made a bridle out of rope, and I started training her for a couple months until I had an accident and I fell off and I broke my arm.
Ouch.
But yeah, I was very brave, and yeah, I wanted to ride. That's all I wanted to do as a kid. Wow,
that was very physical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the combination of the physical parts. Do you think horses will be in your life in the future?
Absolutely, always. I'm in the process of getting one on the farm that I live at. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping it works out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a wonderful thing. Wow. So tell us, okay, so you thought about college, you wanted to go into some music part of college, and how did Berkeley come in your radar? And Berkeley there's a Boston one and a California one?
Yeah, so those, they're not affiliated, but there are two different Berkeleys, yeah.
Okay.
The one in Boston is spelled Berklee, the other one is EY. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I had always heard of Berkeley because I'd done a little bit of research, and I really wanted to do modern music. I wanted to do, especially pop back then when I was a teenager. I really wanted to do that. And Berkeley it's the most prominent modern contemporary music school in the whole world. Most college programs will require you to classically train, which is, you know, I looked into that as well, but very few schools have a specific contemporary music program these days. So there were a couple other schools I looked at. I looked at USC. I was really close to going there, but Berkeley, you know, they ended up giving me a good scholarship, and
wow.
Yeah, and I love the East Coast, so it
was a good mix then.
Yeah.
And that's in Boston, right?
Yeah, well, so for me, actually, one of the selling points also was that I told you I spent my first year in Spain. So.
Oh, yes. Tell us about Spain.
Yeah, so
Oh, my heavens. Yes.
that was one of the big selling points because I was offered a place in the first year abroad program in Valencia, Spain. And it's a campus that's located in what's called the City of the Arts, Arts and Sciences. And it's this huge, like, it looks like a spaceship. It's like a white, like, spaceship looking thing surrounded by like a moat. Like
Wow.
an artificial moat that they filled with like this crystal clear blue water. It's beautiful. And the school is just within there, and it's surrounded by a museum and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, it's the city of oranges. So I spent a whole year there, and it was so much fun. It was a blast. It was more like summer camp than school, really.
Whoa, and you did music there?
Yeah. I gigged around there a lot, and
Did you learn
course-
Spanish?
So I took a lot of Spanish in high school, and I took a little bit in college. But the thing is, we were in our little Berkeley bubble, so all of our classes were in English and everything. It was so bad for for using it. But I knew like a little bit of I knew the slang, the street slang, and like how to get around really well by the end of the year.
Wow, what a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, and did you say there was more of a jazz kind of feel in Berkeley?
Yeah, so Berkeley started as a jazz school primarily. So when we start out at Berkeley, we learn jazz theory. So we learn kind of how to improvise. That's a big part of it, and yeah, just how to analyze things from the perspective of a jazz musician, from the perspective of the greats. You know, like Miles Davis and all those people. So yeah, when I got to Berkeley, I kind of caught the jazz R&B bug. You know, I thought I was a pop artist. I'm not a pop artist.
You are not.
I wouldn't. I would say that there's, you know, pop is a part of it.
Okay, and who is pop? Give me an example of pop is.
Taylor Swift,
Oh.
Ariana Grande, Katy Perry.
Okay.
Who else is big right now? I don't even know.
Okay. So you kind of thought that you were in that genre, and
Yeah, I thought I was in the electronic pop kind of world, and that's what I did in high school. That's like the very first thing I ever put out was very poppy and electronic. But then I got to Berkeley and I met all these amazing instrumentalists who knew jazz and who knew soul and R&B, and it's just a lot more colorful. I just wanted to have a lot more color in my music, especially in like chord progressions and the style, the way people play. So I met a lot of talented people there, and yeah, I started branching out a little bit and blending genres.
So how would you describe the music that you write for yourself now, like what we just heard?
I would say it's very R&B pop. Some people,
R&B pop.
yeah, some people even say that it's a little bit theater-ish. But I like to say that, you know, I'm inspired by the likes of like Stevie Wonder and even like Billy Joel a little bit. And, you know, Sarah Bareilles, if you know who she is, she's a little bit more modern, but she's like jazzy theater pop.
Interesting. So I saw you at your first real gig in Nashville.
Yes.
At the famous Spring Waters. And you did really well, and you had a band backing you, and the guitarist that we just saw, Evan
Scott Penza.
Yeah,
Yes.
Evan Scott Penza, who is a sweetie pie of yours, and that was your debut, playing in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, live and in person, and then since then, you have. You had a gig in California with some people that went to Berkeley also.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us the different platforms you have to get your music out. There's a TikTok, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so right now I'm trying to focus on performing live, but recently the way I've built my following, what little following I have over the past year, is TikTok, like you said. So back in the beginning of the pandemic is when I really started, and I just kind of figured I'd always been uploading videos to, you know, my personal Instagram page and YouTube and stuff. Those things are more personal though. Those are for more like your family and friends, I feel like. But TikTok has kind of blossomed as this this way to achieve virality, essentially. So I decided to give it a try, and I started just putting random videos up. And at first, nothing happened. You know, nobody was seeing anything. But then a couple of my videos kind of took off a little bit. And so I got a little bit of attention and started growing a bit of a following. And now, you know, every now and then, someone will recognize me from the internet if I'm at like a show or a party out at Nashville. So I'm getting there. Yeah,
wow.
slowly but surely.
So if somebody wants to see you on TikTok, how do they access that?
So most people just have the app TikTok on their phone. You can download it.
Right.
You can also just Google my name, Katie Lynne Sharbaugh, TikTok, and my profile will come up.
Oh, and from that, then they can actually see you.
Yep.
And with TikTok, how long are you allowed to, your music thing? Is that like 3 minutes or a 3-minute song or?
The videos? So I think they have a 10-minute feature now even.
Oh.
But it used to be like very, very short videos. It used to be just 1 minute. It was the maximum. But now it's like you can film anything from 10 seconds to 10 minutes long.
Oh.
I would say the average though is about a minute.
Okay.
Each video is a minute long.
And then in other things you do, you teach like at House of Rock. You also, what was it, Mount St. Vincent, where your mom teaches in the Bronx? Tell us what you do with that.
Yeah, so my mom's a professor at the College of Mount St. Vincent in the Bronx, New York.
As a nurse practitioner?
Yes, so she teaches the nurse practitioner program.
Wow.
And so the thing is, a lot of her students grew up without a very good education, especially in writing. So a lot of them just need a little bit of help with that. So she sends me their papers, and I review them, and I give them a little bit of tutoring and writing and grammar and stuff like that. And then I just send them back, and yeah, that's
you get paid for it, right?
That's part of my paycheck, yes.
Wow. Wow. So when you come to Nashville and you're a singer-songwriter, but you got to make a living too. It's like all these other things. So in your wildest dreams, what do you see yourself doing in your wildest dreams? The wildest dream goal lately is what?
I just really want to go on tour.
On tour. Now, tell us what on tour means.
Well, that's a good point. It can mean a bunch of different things, but you know, a lot of people, especially in this city, kind of DIY it and just get a van and book shows across the country and just do it. And that's kind of what I want to do. And so I'm kind of like working towards maybe getting a van or figuring out if there's somebody else I could, get on a bill with and tour with. That would be the dream if I could open for a bigger act. Some people are sponsored by labels and stuff to do this, bigger acts, so they don't have to do it all themselves, or they have tour managers and stuff like that. And I would love to have that happen for me. But right now, I just want to play as much as possible and everywhere. I want to travel and play. So any way I can do that, whether it has to be DIY or with somebody's help.
DIY, do it yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and just kind of book your own, make it up, and.
Yeah, that's how I've been doing it so far. Just booking it myself. Yeah.
And you're just in California, and then you did a side trip to Mexico, right?
Yeah, the Mexico trip was just for fun. But yeah, we had 2 shows in California, one in LA, one in San Diego.
Wow.
So I'm getting there.
Yeah, you are getting there. And you've been here just 8 months.
Yes.
And look, you're already on TV. Yes.
I'm doing well, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. And then we're going to you have a website, right? And on your website, can they hear your music?
Yes. There's a music tab where you can click and hear.
Okay. Is there any way to purchase your music?
Yeah, so you can buy individual songs and albums from me on iTunes, or most people have a subscription to Apple Music or Spotify, and I do get a little tiny bit of money from streams from that. But yeah, you can buy it on iTunes. I think Deezer is another website where you can buy it. Tidal is a big one that's happening right now. Tidal, Tidal. It's like a new streaming platform.
Okay.
Otherwise, anywhere you stream it is helping me out. So.
Wow, just getting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, I believe we're going to hear another one of your tunes to lead us out. I think it's amazing that you have accomplished so much. And we're going to have you back in next year and see what has happened to Katie Lynne Sharbaugh in the past year and what is happening next in her broad career, from little kid to horse person to you name it. You're a woman with a goal, and I know you're going to accomplish it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And this is Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Katie Lynne Sharbaugh, and this is my original song, Amelia.